there is only love. For this is the absolute truth. All else is illusion. There is only love. So a few days ago, back at the end of January, I made a post about preparing for death. It was called Nectar at the End. It's a few days back from me, but when you hear this, it'll be about 2 weeks back or more. I record these messages about 2 weeks before you get to hear them. So in that message, I advised that one should take to spiritual life because this material life is nectar at the beginning, but poison at the end. And spiritual life seems like poison at the beginning, but it's nectar at the end. At the time of death, when one is properly spiritually prepared, this is a wonderful awakening into our real life. But for a materialist, death is the scariest thing there is. So I guess we had a few materialists listening in. They have since left. Our subscription stats took a real nosedive after that episode. And even some of my most dedicated students were asking me, is something wrong? Why are you talking about death? You know, did your pet cat die or something like that? No. Death is a very important subject in the esoteric teaching because death is our final examination of life. It's just like a university course, where all year you go to class and there might be little pop quizzes and stuff like that, but most of the grade depends on the final examination, and it's a doozy. So naturally you're going to want to cram pretty hard for that final. Similarly, in this life, death is where we attain the result of all of our activities in this life. Why? Because the mind, which is full of impressions, unrolls at the time of death, and our whole life passes before our eyes in just a few seconds. And as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yam yang vapi smaran bhavam tyajatante kalevaram tam tam evaiti konteya sadatad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever you remember at the time of death, that state of being you attain in the next life. This means that however we live our life on a day-to-day basis, that is what we will remember at the time of death, and that will determine where we go in the next life. This is absolutely the most important issue you will ever face. Where are you going to go in the next life? Are you going to go right back to where you started in this material life? Take birth in another womb, get squirted out, and then have to cope with all this nonsense? Or are we going to go to the spiritual world, back to our original perfect body, back to home, back to Godhead, back to the world of pure love? That's what's at stake here, folks. So, yes, we do talk about death, but we talk about it in a very sober way, not in a sentimental way, but in a scientific way. And we also give you the tools how to deal with death. How? By dedicating your life to spiritual cultivation and spreading this esoteric teaching all over the world. Now, this is not an individual matter. This is a matter that affects all humankind, everyone on this planet. Right now, our planet is pretty much taken over by the demons. We've been over that Vedic history and stuff. Well, what are we going to do about it? Well, there is really only one thing we can do about it, and that is to cultivate spiritual wisdom for ourselves, and, as much as possible, help others to take to the same path. My spiritual master used to say, it's like airplanes are flying in the sky. if one airplane gets in trouble, there really isn't a whole lot that the other airplanes can do except call him up on the radio and give him some good advice. So similarly, in life, if someone is in spiritual trouble, there isn't a whole lot we can do, but we can give them a message that will help them. If you follow this procedure, then you will be saved. So, in this world, everyone is in trouble. We all have to die. We're all getting old day after day. So what are we going to do about it? Well, we have some good advice for you. Chant the name of God, study the Vedic scriptures, and get involved with this international community called the Brotherhood of the Esoteric Teaching. And if you do, you have the personal satisfaction of knowing that you have done your best, because there is no better spiritual path on this planet. And as soon as you get around to actually reading our scriptures, I think you'll definitely agree. And that's what this whole podcast is about, just to enthuse you, just to attract you, just to show you the way. Now, you can study independently, but that's not recommended for most people. Most people aren't capable of real independent study. So what we recommend is that you form groups. Now, we've already formed groups, and in many cities we have even large communities established. So you can hook up with those communities, you can become a member of the Brotherhood of the Esoteric Teaching, and you can even become an initiate and teach others all over the world. We have a regular program of training, counseling, and traveling to other countries, opening missions, opening temples. It's a very exciting life. And I've been involved in this movement now for about 35 years. And I definitely wouldn't do anything different, except maybe to join it earlier if I had the choice. So I also invite you to join this worldwide organization. And then you don't have to worry about a job. You don't have to worry about taking care of so many things. You'll have a place to live. You'll have a job. You'll have everything you need to make your life successful. Krishna takes care of his own, and he has unlimited resources. So when we dedicate ourselves in service to him, he automatically takes care of us. I don't expect you to believe that, but if you trust me even just a little bit, I do expect you to give it a try and see what happens. Begin chanting this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, or any bona fide Vishnu mantra from the Vedic literatures. And you'll see, things will change in your life, subtly at first, but then you'll see after some time that actually what has changed is your consciousness. You have taken off some of the layers of illusion that bind you to this illusory material world, and you have come closer to the real truth, which is that we are not of this material world. We are of the spiritual world. That's our real home. And our spiritual identity is our real self. And that's why we urge everyone to take up this path and attain your perfect body. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of My Perfect Body. This is David Hughes, your host, reminding you to visit us on the web at esotericteaching.org, where you can purchase the complete Esoteric Teaching Introductory Seminar DVD and many CDs of transcendental music and mantras.